Deeper concern for God's people. I suppose you all understand concern, right? You understand concern? Who does not understand concern? Everybody except me. Okay. Concern means worry, care, responsibility. That's concern. So, if you say, I am worried about your body. I am concerned about your body. Why? You look so skinny. You are almost like a walking skeleton. Oh, yeah. Or you can tell another one, I am worried, I'm concerned about your body. You look too sacky. You know what's sacky? You look like a sack. The hip line, the breast line, and the waistline are all equal. You are sacky. You look like a sack. Well, okay, so that's about concern, worry, see? And then you can also tell me, I am also concerned about your father. Why? You are so short. You see, if I have to see you, I have to look down. If I look straight, I cannot see you. Well, anyway, that's okay. Don't worry about height, about size, about weight, because there is no requirement about that, regarding that, in the kingdom of heaven. Are you sure? Is there any requirement regarding that? No. Whether you are flabby, like a sack, or you are skinny like a skeleton, or you are so short or you're so tall, doesn't matter for God. You agree? Yes, doesn't matter for God. As long as you love God, God loves you. And if you love God and God loves you, then you will be in heaven. Okay? There is no scale in the entrance of heaven to weigh you if you are fitted for heaven. No scale, no meter stick to measure. See, what is important is you love the Lord and you love His people. Then you qualify for heaven. Okay? So that's about concern, about care, responsibility. You can say, oh, that's not my concern. That's not my concern. Meaning, that's not my responsibility. You see? Oh, I'm concerned about your health. Why? You look so pale. You look so sick. You see? So I'm concerned. So, is concern now clear? Are we clear about the word concern? Yes. Okay. So, when you put the word deeper and attach it to concern, then the word concern takes I would say, a serious meaning. It becomes a deeper concern. So it's not just an ordinary concern, but a deep concern. So our theme is deeper concern for God's people. As Christians, we should be concerned, and not just concerned, but deeply concerned over God's people. Are you sure you should be concerned? Should we be concerned? Why? Why? Why should we be concerned about God's people? Because it is commanded by God. It is the greatest commandment, right? Is it? Yes, it is the greatest commandment. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he says, and you shall love your neighbor the way you love yourself. Oh, you have to love your neighbor the way you love yourself. And that's concern, you see. Not only that, Jesus came and Jesus deepened it by saying, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another. How much? How much? You love one another the way I love you. Nothing less, nothing more. You have to love the way I love you. Why am I mentioning this? Because to be able to be truly concerned, you have to be truly in love. Right? And in the epistle of Paul to the Ephesians, to the Romans, I think Romans 9, somewhere there, 8, 9 or 9, 13, it says, love one another with the affection of brothers and sisters. Love one another with affection. What does that mean, affection? What is the word affection? Love one another with affection. Meaning, our love should not just be intellectual. Our love should not just be a casual love. Our love should be affective love. Affective. In other words, I love you so much that what happens to you, I am affected. I am affected. I love you with affection. That's why people used to write letters before, and at the end of the letter, they sign, affectionately yours. Have you done that? Have you done that? Affectionately yours. What does that mean, affectionately yours? I love you so much that what happens to you, I am affected. If you are happy, I am happy. You are sad, I am sad. I love you with affection. Oh. The epistle to the Romans tell us to love with affection. So you cannot just love with an indifferent love, intellectual love. Oh, I already love God. I already love people. Why? I love people. I told God I love people. How come something happened to the people and you did not feel anything? Well, it's okay, but I love people. Oh, come on. That's not enough. We have to love with affection. So, brothers and sisters, I want to repeat this. You cannot truly be concerned for people if you do not love God. If you do not love God. Love of God is the foundation of our love for people. Love of God is the foundation for our love of people. That's why the epistle of John, 1 John, it says, he who says he loves God but does not love his neighbor is a liar. Why? He says, how can you love God whom you do not see if you do not love God, the people whom you see? So, to say love, I love God, I don't care about God's people. I don't care about people. You are a liar. You are a liar. God cannot take you. You see? So, that's it. Our concern for God's people is founded on true and genuine love of God. It is only when we see God in people that we can truly be concerned for them. We have to see God in people. See, otherwise, our love will be a shallow love, superficial, yes, superficial love. And brothers and sisters, when the love is superficial, the Lord knows it is superficial and it is not pleasing to Him. Okay? It is not pleasing to Him. And it is useless to say you love God's people. The proof of that love for God is your love of people. You have no proof if you say, I love God, when there is no love for people. So, deeper concern for God's people means you have developed a deeper love for God, and so there is a deeper love for God's people. Now, question, do you have that love already? Do you have that deeper concern for people? I think we all need to evaluate ourselves. How is my concern for God's people? You know, if this is not developed in the community, this will be one of the causes and big causes of the community's stagnation. The community will stagnate. The community will be cold and indifferent in the relationship. Why? Because there is no warmth. The warmth of love is absent. And nobody there feels any love from you and from each other. So the community is dry and meaningless. Let that love be there, and you will be surprised how excited the people will be, how happy they will be, how exciting is the community life when there is that love and concern for God's people. So, brothers and sisters, I think we all have to look at ourselves. Don't start with others. Don't say, oh yes, this one, that one, these people here, they really have no concern for God's people. Start with yourself. How about you? If you're going to give a rating to your own self about your concern for God's people, how much do you think you will give? 100? 95? 90? Father, I think I can only give 70 to myself. Wow. If you get a 70 rating, then your rating is not passing. It's not a passing rate. You will not be accepted by the angels. Saint Peter will reject you because your rating is not passing. So, it's good to rate ourselves now already. Now already. Because this is the main thing that matters in life, right? This is the main thing that matters. If we don't qualify for heaven, then all your time is wasted. All your efforts are wasted. Whatever you are doing is a waste. Why? It does not qualify for heaven. You are already of age, and yet you are still not qualified for heaven. Your rating is very low, 60, 70. At least you get to 75. And Peter will accept you inside just up to the door. You see? But hopefully, you will have a good rating. See, this is what qualifies us for heaven, our life of love. Our life of love and concern for God's people and for God. They have to go together. Love of God and love of neighbor. I used to say before, long time ago, I used to say, the love of God and the love of neighbor have to go together. Why? These are the two wings that you need to fly to heaven. Two wings. Have you seen a bird flying with one wing? Or do you know of any airplane that has only one wing? If there is a plane with one wing, even if it is all free, I'm not going to ride there. Why? Dangerous, only one wing. Even if they will be the one to pay me, I will not ride. To be able to fly, a bird needs two wings, correct? For a airplane to fly, there is a need of two wings. You think you can fly to heaven, that distance, heaven, from earth to eternity with one wing? Oh, come on, don't tell me. Oh, Father, I love very much God. I love God very much. I go to Mass every day. I receive communion every day, Father. I pray the rosary 3-4 times a day. And I visit the Blessed Sacrament. Oh, my goodness. I have so many novenas already. You think that will qualify you for heaven? I'm sorry. You might be surprised. You pray all those novenas and you end up in hell. Praying all your novenas. Why? It is not the novenas that will bring you to heaven. It is your love for God and for God's people. That's those two kinds of love. They are the only ones that will bring you to heaven, not your novenas. I'm not saying that novenas are not good. They are good, okay? They are good. Novenas are good. Rosary is good. Yes, it's a big help to us to give us the graces that we need. But if that's all that you do, that Christianity is not accepted in heaven. We need real Christian life, and that is the life of love for God and for God's people. Your love for God should be proven by your love for people. That's why deeper concern for God's people, that is the proof that you truly love God. So brothers and sisters, I repeat, evaluate yourself already now. Okay? Hopefully, after this conference, if now your grade is 70, hopefully after the conference, you will have 75. Honestly, look at yourself. Or hopefully, after this conference, when you reach home, your rating is already up to 90. But do not allow it to be like that for life, for the rest of your life. Do not go to the entrance of heaven with 70 rating. Okay? Father, why are so many people unconcerned about God's people? Not only you, but I believe there is so much unconcern for God's people in the world, right? Do you agree with me? How about your community? Is there concern for God's people in your community? I don't know. Well, you have to be honest. Let us face the facts. Let us face the truth. What is the status of our community as far as concern for God's people? Is it there, existing? You see? Now, I think if we have to be honest, this is my own evaluation. I can be wrong. As far as I am concerned, I believe our Christian community is somehow, I would say, a failure when it comes to concern for God's people. There is not much that you can see in our Christian community about concern for God's people. Not much. I'm saying completely zero, no. Because when there are, at certain times, when there are, for example, calamities, there are responses to the needs of people. Like the typhoon Yolanda, or the earthquake in Bohol. There are so many responses to the needs of the people. Yes, this is what I call a one-shot response. A one-shot response to something. There are quite a number of concern, a response to the needs of God's people, but a one-shot response. For an ongoing response to take care of the ongoing needs of God's people, ongoing, there is not much to consider. There are a few, yes. These are the people who have committed themselves to the service of God. Like, for example, you have the religious nuns and brothers who have given themselves to full service in the Lord, like the sisters of Mother Teresa of Calcutta. There is where you see a committed service, not just a one-shot response, but an ongoing response to the needs of God's people for an ongoing need. Yes, but very few. In general, there is a failure in our Christian society to respond to the ongoing needs of God's people. Why do you think it is like this? Why do you think? What could be the reason for this? I believe there are so many reasons. Maybe just to cite some of them, maybe ignorance. There are people who do not know that they are supposed to take care of the needs of their fellow man. They just don't know. They did not hear anything about that. All they know is they have to take care of themselves. As long as they take care of themselves, that's it. See? So ignorance could be one of the reasons. Yes. Other reasons probably is because people are self-centered. They only think of themselves and they only look at their own personal and family needs. They don't care about the needs of others. So they don't look at the needs of others. They only look at their own needs. And they think that by providing their own needs, they are already living their Christian lives. They go to church, they go to Mass, they make their prayers, rosaries and devotions, go to communion. They think they're already good Christians. Well, it's because that's their orientation. Self-centered. They have not learned to think of others, that other people are their responsibility. The church teaches us, isn't it? The church is teaching us that we are our brother's keeper. Have you heard about that? You are your brother's keeper. We are our brother's keeper. So, God's people have to be taken care of. And who will take care of that? You. Because you are the brother's keeper. Their concern should be your concern. See? So as Christians, we have to get rid of that, to be self-centered. Because Christians cannot go to heaven if they are self-centered. I repeat that. If you are self-centered, you cannot go to heaven. Why? Because if you follow yourself, you will end up somewhere down. You will become a barbecue. You want to get to heaven? You have to forget the self and be centered on Jesus, right? You have to be centered on Jesus. See? This is a requirement for following Jesus up to heaven. What did Jesus say? If anybody wants to follow me, what? He must. Oh, you all know. Yeah. If anybody wants to follow me, he must deny himself. Are you denying yourself already? Are you already denying yourself? Sometimes, Father, you cannot do that sometimes. If you deny yourself only sometimes, I don't think you will end up with Jesus in heaven. Because to follow Jesus has to be a consistent life. I have to deny myself, only then can I follow Jesus. Why? Because the direction of Jesus is different from the direction of myself. Myself wants all these pleasures, all the satisfaction of the self. All this, my direction, if I follow myself, is different from the direction of Jesus. Jesus goes that way, myself goes that way. If I don't deny myself, I cannot follow Jesus. You get that? You get that? Are you willing to deny yourself? You cannot talk. I don't know. I have to think about it, Father. It's no question. It's no longer a question of thinking about it. You cannot say, I'll think about it, because you cannot be a good Christian, a follower of Jesus, if you don't deny yourself. You can be a believer of Christ. I used to say that. Jesus has plenty of believers. Our churches on Sundays are full of believers of Jesus. They are all believers. But how many of the believers of Jesus are followers of Jesus? That's another story. That's another story. To be a believer and a follower are two different things. You can be even a preacher about Jesus. Can you imagine that? You're a preacher about Jesus. You are good in preaching. You can talk very well about Jesus. But, sorry, you are still not a follower of Jesus. Why? Because you have not learned to deny yourself. How sad, no? How sad to think about that. You're a follower of Jesus, even a preacher of Jesus, about Jesus, but you are not a follower of Jesus. So after preaching to so many thousands of people, you end up a barbecue. Not because Jesus is sending you there, but because you refuse to follow Jesus. So naturally, Jesus will not drag you to heaven, because heaven is for people who freely go there. Nobody is forced to go to heaven. Don't expect Jesus to drag you by your neck and bring you to heaven. No. If you refuse to go to heaven to follow Jesus, He will leave you. He will feel sad that you end up a barbecue, but He cannot help it. It is your decision. It is your decision. So, brothers and sisters, going back, what do you think of yourself and your community? Is there already such a concern there? And do not make the possible reasons that I pointed out: ignorance, self-centeredness. See? Self-centeredness, failure to die to self. Do not make this, do not allow this to, I would say, continue to hamper God's people from getting to heaven. You belong to the community. You care for God and for His people. Do something to overcome this weakness in the community. Because that is a weakness that is destroying your community. Unconcern for God's people. Sometimes you can feel a community coming together, but the meeting is, I would say, there is not much unction. There is not much unction. There is a meeting, but the meeting is so dry. The meeting is so dry. Relationship is so dry. Why? There is really no love and concern for each other. We have always emphasized this in our community building teachings, that the main thing, the center of community building is love relationship building. Love relationship building. If that is not attained, then the community is not established. I repeat that. If love relationship is not established, the community is not established. It looks like you have a community, but that's only a look. That's only a look. Looks like you have a community, but in reality, there is no community because there is no relationship. The main thing is the relationship of love among the members. And that love relationship will provide that concern, deeper concern for each other, deeper concern for God's people. Okay? Now, you might say, what are we to do now, Father? If we have to build up that concern for God's people, what are we going to do? I believe, brothers and sisters, we cannot just leave it as it is. If you see there is unconcern, there is nothing there in your community, or there is unconcern in you, you cannot leave it as it is. You have to do something. What is to be done? Well, start building up your relationship with the Lord and with the people. Start building up. How do we build up, Father, our relationship with the Lord? I believe we all know that there is only one way to build up relationship, and that is frequent contact. Frequent contact. How come people become close friends? What makes people close friends? It is their frequent contact. You cannot say, Mr. So-and-so is a very close friend of mine. We are intimate friends. How often do you see each other? Once in 5 years. Forget it. If you are close friends, you don't see each other once in 5 years. Not even once a year. Close friends come together very often, right? They enjoy each other's company. So you want to develop your love for the Lord. There is no substitute except frequent contact with the Lord. I repeat, frequent contact with the Lord. What is this? How do we get in touch, in contact with the Lord? Father, do I have to go to heaven? I have to die for that. Do I have to go to Rome or to Jerusalem? No. You don't have to go to Rome or to Jerusalem. You don't even have to go to the cathedral or to any church. All you have to do is come before the presence of the Lord. Come before the presence of the Lord. And the beauty is the presence of the Lord is available all the time, 24 hours a day. Jesus is available 24/7. 24/7, right? You can get in touch with Him anytime, anywhere. Yes. That's why we always emphasize prayer life. This is what we call prayer life. This is what we call quiet time with the Lord. A person who does not have a quiet time with the Lord cannot build up deep personal relationship with the Lord. You cannot build up your relationship with the Lord if you have no quiet time, if you have no time to pray. No matter what, you have to spend time. And as often as you can. Just keep quiet. Close your eyes, keep quiet, and then put yourself in His presence. Listen to Him. That's it. Some people, they come before the Lord, they close their eyes, but they do all the talking. They cannot keep their mouth shut. They close their eyes. Lord, I am here. Until they finish talking and say, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Were they having a quiet time? No. Were they listening to the Lord? No. They made the Lord listen to them. Lord, listen to me. This is what I want. What we need is to listen to the Lord. Allow Him to talk to you. Never mind you're talking to the Lord. Let the Lord talk to you. That's the main thing. If we can establish this, I tell you, you will develop that special friendship with the Lord. And the moment you become a close friend with the Lord, communication line is established. I tell you, the Lord will guide you. The Lord will guide you. The Lord will give you all the wisdom that you need to live your life, all the wisdom that you need to be effective in your work, whatever you are doing, because the Lord is with you and the wisdom of the Lord is working in you. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. This is what is lacking in many leaders. So many leaders are brilliant people, but precisely because they are brilliant, they think they know everything. And when they go into the work of the Lord, they do all the planning. They make beautiful plans. Yes, that is their plan. But unfortunately, their plan is not the Lord's plan. So when they execute their own plan, they find it ineffective. And the work is all a failure. Why? Because what you need is not your human wisdom. What is needed for a leader to be effective is God's wisdom. God's wisdom, yes. The work that we are doing is the work of God. If the work we are doing is the work of God, it must be God's power that should operate in that work. And then you become effective. Right? Yes, there you go. That's why before you do anything, call on the Lord. We are going to plan, Lord, for your work. Come to us. Come to our minds. Come to our hearts. Whatever you want, put it into our hearts and minds. Let us Touch each one of us that we may come out with your plan, not with our plan. And when the Lord's plan is there and you execute His plan, definitely you will be effective. Brothers and sisters, we have a beautiful example of Saint John Mary Vianney. How many know Saint John Mary Vianney? Oh, he has few friends, very few friends. Saint John Mary Vianney is known for his poor head. When he was studying as a seminarian, he was very dumb. For every level in his studies, he had to go through it 2 or 3 times. First year, theology, 2-3 years. Second year, theology, again, 2-3 years. He finished his studies, priestly studies. He was already of age. He was already of age. His classmates, when he entered the seminary, were already bishops, and he was still a seminarian. Look at that. Why? He was so poor. But then, the seminary did not dismiss him because although he had a poor mind, he had a good heart. He truly loved the Lord. He truly loved the Lord. And they could see it in his life. He was loving God in his life, loving God in his classmates and all that. So they kept him until finally he finished his studies. Now he was to be ordained already, and the authorities of the church were even still questioning whether to have him ordained or not. Why? Because it looks like he does not have much in his head. Suppose we ordain him and we assign him to a place. For all you know, the people in that parish will just get confused because he might be teaching wrong things. But because he was already old, some of the consultors of the diocese said, well, we allowed him to finish his studies. It's not fair that we will not ordain him. Give him the chance. Well, finally, the consultors were convinced and they had him ordained. Now he is a priest. The next problem was where to assign him. Why? Because he was dumb. So they were looking at the whole diocese and looking at the different parishes. They found a parish where there were no longer people going to church. So they thought if we assign him there and he gives wrong teachings, it will not be many who will be confused because only few people, 1 or 2 people go to church. So they assign him there. This is the parish of Ars, France. He was assigned and became the parish priest of Ars, France. Brothers and sisters, when he took over the parish, he started serving the people there in the Lord and started to serve them with all his heart. Can you imagine? In no time, he renewed the whole parish. When he came in, there were only 2 or 3 people coming to Mass. But even if there were only 2, he would preach a homily. And in his homily, these 2 people will cry. 3 people will be crying there because of his homily. They are touched. When they go home, they start talking about their new parish priest. He's very good. And people were attracted. More and more people were attracted to come to listen to the new parish priest, whom they say is very good. And everybody knew and everybody felt he was a very good speaker. Very good preacher. Yes. The dumb seminarian has now become a good preacher. What happened? His parish became known. People come to his church, not only his own parishioners, but people from other parishes now come to his parish to listen to him. And he became not only a good confessor and consultant of the lay people, he became the consultant of priests and bishops. Priests and bishops. When a bishop had a problem and he did not know how to solve it, he would go to the dumb Vianney, the dumb Father Vianney. They would go to him and ask his advice. When he opens his mouth, they all feel enlightened and they go home and their problems are solved. The dumb priest solves the problems of the wise priest. Can you imagine that? Why? Because he was working not with the human wisdom, but with the divine wisdom. He loves the Lord so much, and he loves the people of the Lord so much, and that love makes him an effective priest. You are working for God's people, right? You are involved in evangelization, right? You are building communities, right? Right? Well, you want to be effective? There is only one way. Let the wisdom of God be upon you. And to be able to have that wisdom, you have to develop close friendship with the Lord. Let the communication line be established between you and the Lord, and the wisdom of the Lord will become your wisdom, and you will be effective. You will be amazed how the Lord guides you. So, brothers and sisters, this is the need. This is what we need to do if we have to remedy that indifference, unconcern for God's people. If we have to remedy that, you have to start it in you, and you have to start it by developing that close friendship with the Lord. And then, when you develop that close friendship with the Lord, you will also begin to be more wise. You will begin to see the Lord in people. I repeat, you will begin to see the Lord in people. People who truly love the Lord can see the Lord in people. And when you see the Lord in people, you will treat people differently. You will treat them the way you would treat the Lord. That is why the Lord is insistent. Love one another the way I love you. The way I love you. And you will develop that love when you have established a relationship with the Lord. You will begin to see the Lord in people. I've always been pounding this in our teachings, anywhere we go, to develop the habit of seeing Jesus in people. I am insisting on developing the habit, because if you just see the Lord every now and then in people, you see, every now and then you see Jesus in people, that will not work. It has to become a habit so that it becomes automatic. When you see people, you see Jesus, and then automatically you will treat people like Jesus, treating them like Jesus. All the biases will disappear. Even if they are your enemies, remember, even if they are our enemies, you cannot treat them as enemies. What does Jesus say about it? What does Jesus say about your enemies? What did he say? I did not hear that. Oh, excuse me. Jesus says, love your enemies. Ooh. Do you already love your enemies? Well, I hope so. The only way to love your enemy is to see Jesus in them. Until you see Jesus in your enemy, you cannot truly love your enemy. Oh. Are you willing now to love your enemy? Well, don't mention my enemy, Father. I want to give him a good punch. Well, whatever you want, remember, the Lord wants you to love your enemies. And He says, not just to love with your lips. He says, love your enemies and do good. Oh. Are you doing good to your enemy? Well, it's enough, Father, that I love my enemy. I forgive my enemy. That's enough. I don't want to see him. My blood boils when I see my enemy. Well, you have not forgiven your enemy. You still don't see Jesus in your enemy. Why? Because your blood still boils. The Lord wants you to love your enemy and do good to your enemy. He needs food. Readily give him food. He needs your help. Give him your help. You see? He needs your time. Give him your time. That's the Christian attitude. That's what the Lord wants us to do, even with our enemies. So, brothers and sisters, one of the hardest thing to love is the enemy. I know. I'm not saying it's easy. No. It's one of the hardest. But if you know the Lord, if you see the Lord in your enemy, it becomes easier. Because it will not be you loving your enemy. It will be Jesus loving him. You have to tell the Lord, Lord, I don't think I'm capable of loving my enemy. As far as I am concerned, I want to smash his face. But because you want me to love my enemy, okay, Lord, please help me. Help me. And the moment you say that to the Lord, you'll be surprised. Your feelings will be changed. All of a sudden, your heart will soften. And you will be able to love your enemy. Why? Because it is the Lord now doing it. Because you put it on Him. You put it before Him. You ask Him to do it for you. And definitely the Lord will do it for you. Because He did it already on the cross. You believe that? Jesus already loved your enemy on the cross. That's why Jesus said, Father,